thoughts. And before we get to today's topic, please make sure that you subscribe and like and share, comment, do all those things, especially on YouTube. I would love to really build this thing up because I really love doing Tater Thoughts. Even if only a few people are watching, man, I just love doing this show. So today's topic is the most genius move ever made by a Republican, and that includes even some of the genius moves on top of all the dumb moves that Trump has made. In 1987, Ronald Reagan was trying to clamp down on illegal immigration. That's back when it was a smidgen of the problem that it is today. He made a deal with the Democrats who control Congress that he would grant asylum to all illegal immigrants that were currently in the country if, in return, they would get strong on the border. So he did grant asylum to all of them, and guess what? The Democrats stabbed him in the back and instead created these things which they called sanctuary cities, where supposedly migrants are safe from deportation because the Democrats thought Republicans are so cruel, so cruel. How could the Republicans on these border states want to kick out poor immigrants who are just looking for a poor way of life? Now, before we get started, I am so pro-legal immigrant. I am very pro-legal immigrant. I think we should open up our borders for the brightest and the smartest to come over and help us compete on this global technological economy. We should open for our doctor shortages with great physicians from other parts of the countries where they can come here, take a few more classes, and sit for our licensing exam. We should actually pump out more of our own STEM graduates, but truth be told, we don't pump out enough. And so letting some of the brightest engineers and scientists come over is smart policy. And we should open up our borders some legally to those that are coming from poorer countries so that they can experience the American dream. After all, we are a country of immigrants, but we need to be a country of legal immigrants. And over the last few years, thanks to our asylum system being so generous, they have, instead of just sneaking across the border and sneaking past Border Patrol, they go and they turn themselves in under an asylum claim because they know that that asylum claim will not be heard right now until 2031. 2031. And in the meantime, most asylum seekers can apply for work permits and everything else. And now this is leapfrogging all the legal immigrants that are trying to come here legally, which is so unfair. So the party of so-called fairness, the Democrats, are being very unfair. And it was so easy to sit on your pedestal and say, oh, we're sanctuary cities. If you look at Oregon here, look, even small towns, oh, we're sanctuary cities. We welcome immigrants. Well, do they? Well, there was one smart governor named Texas Governor Greg Abbott, and a few, like Governor DeSantis, said, hey, if you're all about them, you're right. It's actually cheaper, instead of letting them stay here, where each kid times $1 million costs $10,000 to $15,000 per year to educate, all the healthcare costs, all the extra police that are needed, the infrastructure for more people driving illegally on the roads. In fact, a lot of these sanctuary cities were giving out licenses, driver's licenses to illegal immigrants, which kind of gave them de facto residence here. And so he said, hey, it's actually cheaper. We'll bus them. Heck, we'll even fly them to sanctuary cities, because for that one-time cost, they don't have to pay the yearly cost of having them there until the federal government gets off its ass and actually adjudicates these bogus asylum claims and then deports them. So he said, hey, let's do it. Says here, this is NBC News, very, very liberal news. How Texas Governor Greg Abbott divided Democrats on immigration with migrant busing. It was a stroke of genius. Now New York says it's at its breaking point. Chicago is running out of time and space before harsh winter sets in. Washington, D.C. says its housing is at capacity. Other cities like Denver have declared states of emergency. Oh, and now, instead of originally blaming the Biden administration and their basic magnet to come over, they were blaming Governor Abbott for doing what any governor should do for his state. Save them money. Save their resources. Okay? It was a stroke of genius. Let's look at some of the news stories that are coming out now. How the Democrats are turning on their own president now. And finally realizing maybe Sanctuary City wasn't such a good idea after all. Let's take a look at this one here.
America's third largest city, Chicago, has received nearly 27,000 immigrants. Now a Chicago City Council member, an alderman, wants President Biden and Chicago's Mayor Brandon Johnson to do more to address immigration. Alderman Raymond Lopez is calling on the Biden administration to stop offering what he calls free benefits to migrants entering the U.S. And Alderman Lopez is joining us right now. Thank you so much. This is 6 o'clock in the morning. I appreciate you putting on a tie for us.
My pleasure.
So we've seen immigrants sleeping inside of police stations. We've seen them sleeping inside of airports. O'Hare International Airport, one of the nation's largest, behind black curtains as if we don't know what's going on.
I don't want to play too much of that because then I might get copyright violated, but basically he goes on to say, hey, this has been a Republican-Democrat problem. At first he does those lines, but he said the Biden administration has just totally created a magnet for them to come here. So I guess Democrats are cruel now too. Let's take a look at this next clip here.
Right now, more migrants arrive in Chicago. Our nonstop news crew just happened to come across an arriving bus as they were reporting on the migrant crisis at the Chicago Office of Emergency Management this morning. That's where we'll find CBS 2's Asal reside this morning. And Asal, this latest bus arrived unannounced.
Yeah, Jackie, that's right. We've actually been here all morning talking about the buses that have arrived in the suburbs in the last couple of days. The latest one arriving in Lockport yesterday. They were then shuttled here to this location, which is why we've been here all morning. And then within the last few hours, we started to see migrants arriving here on foot, actually. And I'm told by the migrants themselves that they walked over here from the Greyhound.
Stroke of genius. Boy, oh boy, all these people. Let's look at a couple more and just see what's see this funny stuff. This one here has to deal with Chicago deciding that they have to do something humane for these poor immigrants, and so they've taken parks over, community centers over, and schools over, and instead of using them for what the taxpayers actually paid into to use, they're now using them for migrant shelters, and the community is pissed.
As a proposed migrant tent camp comes down in Brighton Park, Little Village residents are trying to keep one from going up in their neighborhood. They gathered today to voice their concerns outside a shuttered CVS store at 2700 South Pulaski, a proposed site for migrants. Residents who spoke say they're worried about their safety and would rather their tax dollars be spent on residents in need.
People have been waiting for years, let's say, for example, for to get citizenship, and they don't get anything. They've been here 40, 50 years. They can't get no amnesty. But then these people come, they get everything. They're getting...
Oh, poor guys. You know what? I almost feel bad for them, but they're the one that voted in these liberals. In fact, Chicago took the mayor that looked like Beetlejuice, who was super liberal, and voted in an even more liberal one. It's just crazy. They'll just vote against their own interests like that. Here's a good one from Chicago as well.
Now they're taking away an asset that people worked 30 years. My buddy worked years to put together programs that they're taking away from us, black people.
The black vote the Democrats need. And I think they're going to start losing it because I think they're just starting to wisen up and say, hey, this is unsustainable. Here's the great state of New York, or city of New York Mayor Adams.
Then now Mayor Adams more passionate than we've seen about the asylum seeker crisis. As more buses arrived at Port Authority today, the mayor says the city is severely impacted by the influx of migrants. Speaking at a town hall meeting tonight on the Upper West Side, the mayor said that he doesn't see an end to this problem as the city is not getting enough support from the federal government.
This issue will destroy New York City.
Will destroy New York City. Sir, with all due respect, this issue has been destroying Southern Republican-held territory for many, many years. You guys are just now having to put your money where your mouth is, costing you billions and billions of dollars. And you guys are only getting a fraction of the immigrants that are still stuck all across the border down there in those border states. People like, subscribe, share this stuff.